Welcome to a walkthrough of CMS Previous Next. We'll be creating a previous post and a next post on a Webflow CMS template page. We're using attributes. We are going to go in the docs, we're going to go in Designer, and we're going to build this entire previous and next workflow. This is the final product. We're on a CMS template page. As you can see, Environment Corp, and we have our previous post generated and our next post generated. And you'll see from this list, we're able to check we have our Environment Corp, and we have our previous Corporate Caterpillar and our next Food Palace exactly as intended. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to first go in Designer and we'll look at where we are in this clonable. In the clonable, we're in the client's template page, and we are starting with a little bit of a base. We're going to build the UI of the previous next, but we're going to start with a CMS collection list. We're not going to build the list element. When using previous next, we need a list to populate this previous and next. Here we have previous and next. It needs to be populated. The content needs to be generated from somewhere. And that's going to be this list element. So we're going to use this list. It will get an attribute. And this list is nothing special as of now. There are no attributes applied to it. There's nothing that is different or unique about this. We have some binded elements, and that's it. Let's now go into the documentation. Let's start this implementation and see what we need to do next. We're in the attributes docs, CMS previous next. Let's go into step one. Copy this script to the head of the page. If I go and copy this script, I can go and paste it to the head of this page. We're on the template page, so we need it on the template page. And here we go. In my testing, I already have it here, so we're going to make sure that it's right here in the head. Let's go and save. And now let's go to step 2 in the docs. Implement in Webflow, we're going to apply attributes to elements on the page. Let's start with this list element, the one we were just talking about, which will populate the items in our previous and our next side. We have a attribute FSCMS prev next element. We'll copy that, and it's going to get a value of list. We're going to go back to this. There's a very important step in this description. But let's start with this attribute. We'll go and click on the list. I am in here going to paste and do list. There we go. That's not all we have to do for a list. There's a very important step labeled important, and it is to have a URL link to the current template page. We need some way to know this item in this list is the page that we're on now. It's going to give us the base for what the previous is and what the next is. So let's go and do that. We're going to go and add a text link. And for now, let's call this text link something that we understand. That's going to be required current page. This is required only to understand the current page. And you'll see that I'm choosing this dynamic page button here with current client. And we don't need this visible either. We're going to keep it visible for now, but it does not need to be visible on the page. It just needs to be inside the item. So what this is doing behind the scenes is it's going to the current page, Environment Corp. It's going to find it in the list, and then it's going to say this one's the previous and this one is the next. So now let's define our divs to say this is where the previous should go and this is where the next should go. We have our div block waiting for us. Let's go create a little bit of a UI. And let's see what we have to work with first. Let's close this up and we'll do, I want this div block to hold the previous item in the list. I want this div block to hold the next item in the list. And then a bit more flexibility. I want this div block, text element, button, link block, or text link to be the empty state of the previous item. And same for the next item. So we'll start with the div blocks here. We have fs cms prev next element. We have previous, and then this one's going to be next. Great. Let's start to build our UI. I'm going to start with a component name of fs prev next. I'll go copy this so that when I go create more items inside this UI, I can stay organized and quickly come up with these structured names. So we have the fs prev next. Let's call this the row. Let's give a little bit of a grid style to it, create some size. This is now going to separate our previous side and our next side. We'll keep all of our previous info in one side, all of our next info in the other side. And let's start with a div to separate the two sides. And we'll call this the item. Let's call it the item for now. And the item is going to have some explainer text. Let's say what we have over here. This is going to be the previous post, let's call it. And the other one will say the next post. Let's go and add a div here. And this will be insert post. This is where we are officially going to insert our previous post. Let's give this a 1 rem on margin top. And let's actually create another one of these for our empty state. But this one, we will give an add-on to is empty state. Now, both of these have the same class. Classes don't matter in attributes, but now I can style these together if I want to. Or if I want to just style this one, I have the nice combo class for this style. And that's exactly what I'll do. Let's put some type of a message in here to tell the user this is the empty state, because this is going to show as is. If there is no previous post, this entire thing is going to show. If there is a previous post, it's going to be put inside this div. So let's tell the user this is not available. There is no previous post. Let's also lead them back to the home page, let's say. Let's say back to all posts. There's nothing there. We want to give them some way to get back to the action. There we go. Let's add some size here to this, the is empty state. Let's give this a 3 rem around. Great. And that looks pretty good. This is going to be the UI for our previous post side. Let me go and copy this and now paste this in the row. So now we have our previous post side and our next post side. And we will update this language, and now we are ready to go and apply our attributes. We have our full UI. Let's go to the docs, and we already looked at this, but let's just refresh here. fs cms prev next element previous. Let's go and do that to our empty div. I'm going to go in here to previous. And let's do the same thing for the next here. Element next. Great. Now let's add the empty ones to the empty state. And we have the same thing, the same element with previous empty. So let's do that same exact thing. Previous empty. And let's do previous next empty. Cool. That's it. I'm pretty sure that we're done here. Let's go and hide this list. Let's get this final ready. We may not even have to come back in Designer here. We're good. We have our current page. We have our list attribute. We have the script. We have our placements here. Let's go publish this. I think we're ready. And as this publishes, we should see a loaded page with no list on the bottom and our previous and next post. And let's actually check this so we know what to look for. We have our freelancer house. We should be expecting a food palace and environment corp. Food palace and environment corp. Let's check it out. And give me a food palace, give me an environment corp. That is correct. We have our previous post, we have our next post. Let's confirm here that we do not need these visible. Remember, this has to be there, but it does not need to be visible. Same thing with this. Let's go hide it. Anything else that we need to check? I don't think so. Oh, let's check our next state. So I'll give this a post, a publish, and we're going to navigate to that last post to see if we have a correct empty state. Back on here, the freelancer house, this is correct. Same thing, we've now removed this, this text, which actually makes it more difficult for us to navigate here. This was not built with this in mind. Let's do fast track here. What can we do? Vehicle co should give us a no next post. So let's go and check that manually. And when we load this page, we have no next post. So our empty state is working here. Excellent. We have completed this walkthrough. We have done a CMS previous and next setup on a CMS template page. Go check out attributes. We have a lot of solutions for you, a lot more with walkthroughs and clonables. Find out how to use this on your next project, because as you start using more attributes, your Webflow project will get stronger and stronger.